What Chinese face reading allows you to do is to see into immediately, literally, somebody's deepest subconscious patterns. Now, obviously, you can do this for other people. I don't recommend telling the people that you're doing it because it becomes very awkward. Trust me, I've tried it millions of times in various social settings. Unless the people know that I am a professional Chinese face reader, and then it becomes kind of like a party trick, and then that can be fun. Or if it's someone close to you and they want that information and there's consent, you could read other people's faces. But it's also quite useful in reading your own face, because one of my favorite concepts about Chinese face reading is that they say that the point of it is to return to your original face. So what that really means is that your face holds a blueprint to your purpose in life. Your face holds a blueprint to the things you're holding onto in your subconscious from your past, and it shows up on your face. Your face is essentially a blueprint for your highest, most authentic self. And so when you know where your authentic self is and you start living in alignment with your authentic self, it's almost like things click into place. Your subconscious, your unconscious, and your conscious mind, right? We have these three parts of our brain, can all kind of click into the same thing, and you walk what the Chinese call the golden path, or rather Lillian Bridges, I think, just to be very correct here, called returning to your original face, walking your golden path. But what's really interesting about Chinese face reading is that as you do the inner work, which is what we've been talking about on my lives, if you were here the last, I think, 3 or 4 weeks, we've talked about emotional alchemy work, which again, we can totally talk about again today. And maybe I will, that's so not what I meant to do. I'm going to put actually back up the chart that I've had the past couple weeks, and we're going to talk about the chart in terms of Chinese face reading. I just got to find the chart, and it's going to take me 20 seconds, probably. But once I find this chart, the chart is essentially what the negative emotions are and what those negative emotions correlate to when you do the emotional alchemy work. So if you're interested in shadow work, if you're interested in emotional alchemy work, then you can start using, where's my chart? You can start, here it is. You can start using Chinese face reading. Here we go. To basically work with this chart. So I am starting to see some questions come through. Because I get a lot of questions that come through during these lives, I answer questions for those who are in my subscription base, because otherwise, for me, I get way too chaotic when I'm trying to answer like everyone's question all at once. And if you know, you know, because you've seen me live before, I like love answering questions and I love being of service. Like I always say, like I do not get paid for these lives. I'm literally here to service you, to explain this emotional alchemy chart, to share with you around the inner work. Obviously today we're going to be talking about face reading and how that correlates to this emotional alchemy chart. Just this one question. Diamonds, it's diamond face shapes are extremely metallic. I have a diamond face shape. Diamond face shape people are, so there's different face shapes in Chinese face reading. Diamond face shape people, like I said, are metallic, and we can go through some other kinds of metallic face shape or metallic personality traits and facial structures, but metallic people enjoy refinement. They enjoy the process of refinement. On the shadow side, it can show up as perfectionism. And on the light side, it can show up as you're forging. It's almost like the way I view it is like you're forging like non-beautiful things, but through the process of refinement, you're making something very beautiful, because that's the process of creating metal. Okay, so that is a diamond face shape. They generally can be very overly dramatic as well. They're kind of like prima donnas. Okay, so face reading. I'm going to start going through what is called the emotional map of the face. And the emotional map of the face shows different repressed emotions and how those emotions, sorry, I'm just readjusting here, how those emotions get stuck inside of your subconscious mind. So we'll start at the very top. So people that have lines in between their eyebrows, this area on Chinese face reading, essentially from like about right here to right here, in between the eyebrows, this is considered a minor liver area. So in Chinese medicine, there's different organ systems, there's different meridian systems, and each meridian system correlates to a different organ, a different emotional trait, and a different one of the elements in Chinese face reading. So this being a minor liver area is correlated to the emotion of anger. So we're going to start. Like if we can check it with the chart too. Anger. No emotion is bad. No Chinese face reading line is bad. No Chinese face reading trait is bad. I don't even believe that looking at anything in terms of good or bad, it's usually not a useful way to look at it. Okay, so if you've been with me live before, you know that every single emotion is there for you. And I'm going to keep returning to that concept because your body exists in divine nature, right? We look at, I have a window here. If you're looking at nature, I'm looking at mountains, I'm looking at trees, I'm looking at succulents. I don't see any flowers, unfortunately. I love flowers. But I'm looking at nature. Nothing in nature is wrong. I'm not looking at this tree being like, what the fuck, tree? You're doing it wrong, okay? My body, your body, also nature. So your body's never going to produce anything against you. That includes emotions. The way it gets complex is that our thinking mind places a meaning. It drops a meaning on every single thing that we experience. And so if I'm experiencing anger, for example, my thinking mind, without the knowledge of emotional alchemy, which is what this chart is, someone was asking what the colors are. Without the knowledge of emotional alchemy, I might be like, hey, I think something's wrong. This anger doesn't feel good. I must be doing something wrong, or someone must be doing something to me that is wrong, and I must get away from it. But my body is nature, trees are nature, your body's nature, the body doesn't mess up. Body never produces anything against you. So when you're looking at these different emotions, there is always gold. There's golden information of your authenticity relative to every uncomfortable state that you have. The gold in the middle of every uncomfortable sense of icky information, or rather icky emotion in your body, the ones that you don't like, the negative emotions, the gold is always one of three things. It's a repressed truth or a desire, an unmet need, or an authentic boundary. And that's what this chart is. This chart is showing you that when you have uncomfortable emotion, but you take your awareness and you go to the inside, you can retrieve a very important aspect of your authenticity within that emotion. So where does Chinese face reading come into play? Chinese face reading will show you literally at a moment's glance. This is different than body language, which I also talk a lot about on my channel. But body language is seeing real-time shifts of someone's nervous system. The body never lies, ever, ever, ever. Body language is real-time information shifts. If somebody leans in, they literally just got a feel-good biochemical. If somebody leans back, they just got a hit of a biochemical in their body that is uncomfortable. Body language shows real-time information. Face reading shows long-time information. It takes a long time for one of these uncomfortable emotions to mark the face. And when I say it takes a long time, what I mean by that is that because your body exists in divine love, your body loves you, your body never produced anything against you. If your body is producing an uncomfortable emotion, we know, because I just explained it, that inside of every uncomfortable emotion is a golden aspect of your authenticity. So if your body is calling to you, hey, I'm experiencing anger, I'm experiencing grief, I'm experiencing self-disgust, I'm experiencing shame, and you keep plopping negative meanings on that emotion as a means to distance yourself, to create a lack of intimacy, to create a hypervigilant boundary between you and your body, because bodies exist in, or rather emotions exist in the body, you're creating space and distance. That emotion And the gold of authenticity within that emotion doesn't go anywhere. Your mind distances itself from it and then must live into a reality that is distant from your own body. Okay, stick with me. And therefore, you must seek external validation. You must try to control and manipulate people to varying degrees. None of this is bad. We all do this in order to maintain this mask, because the mask is here to distance yourself from this negative emotion. But in the core of the negative emotion is your gold. When this process called fragmentation exists again and again and again, because we as human beings are not experiencing anything new in our lives. Everything is a repeat pattern in our subconscious again and again and again until we say, hang on, I'm in enough pain. Usually this is how it happens, unfortunately. I'm in enough pain. I don't like this. Let me try something different. Let me bring my awareness into my body, into the subconscious patterns, and change it from there. Okay? But when this process of fragmentation exists over and over again, this repressed part of you holds your authenticity, and your authenticity loves the fuck out of you. In fact, your authenticity is going to keep yelling at you over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, because there's an energetic split in your body. Your awareness is split. You are not as healthy emotionally, physically, mentally, and spiritually as you could be if you were whole, if you had gathered this gold and brought it into your life, okay, and into your personality, because personalities are made up anyways. Face reading shows where we have ignored our repressed golden information of authenticity so many times, probably since childhood, probably before the age of 7, because between 0 and 7 is when you have the most amount of neuroplasticity available to you, meaning you're like an open sponge downloading information with zero discernment. So we're picking up patterns left and right, okay, all the time. And then we repeat those patterns again and again, and we manifest those patterns as a means to see where we are cut off from our authenticity. But we're always manifesting. We are manifestors, okay? But we're manifesting from our conscious mind, which is what we are aware of. That's 5% of you. And you're manifesting from your subconscious mind, which is approximately, generally speaking, 95% of you. The repressed information with the gold inside exists in your subconscious mind. Now we will get back to Chinese face reading. I tangent a lot. If you're new to my little world, I tangent a whole lot. Join my subscription if you want your particular questions answered. You have a question about your face, you have a question about anything, join the subscription. It'll show up when you ask a question, and I will answer your question. So back to Chinese face reading. The emotional map of the face shows long time patterns that hold the keys to your literal best life, literally ever. The cost to admission to your best life is doing the thing that animals in the wild can't do, which is, hey, I'm going to pause and I'm going to turn towards my pain. Animals in the wild, mammals and other animals, but mammals, because we are essentially mammals, right? We have a very mammalian type body. We just have a human brain that makes things beautiful and poetic and also fucks things up all the time because we hold on to trauma. Different talk for a different day. But animals in the wild, they have a reactionary pattern that says go towards pleasure and go towards away from pain. Toward pleasure, away from pain. We have a mammalian body. We also have that. We will instinctively go towards pleasure and we will instinctively go away from pain all the time. Okay? But the ticket to your happiest, most authentic life is doing the opposite of that. It's using the prefrontal cortex, the part of our brain that can do top-down processing, that could go, wait a second, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do the opposite. Even though the animal body goes, don't do that. Your human brain can say, you know what, I'm going to do this because Kate Colley on TikTok told me that there's gold inside of here, and I promise you it works every time. And if you want more information actually about that 4-step process, I have a free YouTube video. The link is in my bio. It's the very first video. Oh, I actually have a community that I'm launching, so it'll be the very second link. The 4-step method to process any emotional trigger. That's the free version. If you want the paid version, where I go into all the trauma release, how to, in a super gnarly way, do this process, this emotional alchemy process and release trauma, that's in my course, Rewild Your Release. And the results I get from that are phenomenal. All of that, the link is in my bio. I will always give you more information about where you can go next. And I will always give you, for every budget, I have many, many, many free options. I have many paid options. And then I have also high-end one-on-one options. So that is all there in the link in my bio. I will periodically remind you of that. I wish I could carry me around my pocket. That'd be fun. I go like this, and I speak in a little mouse voice if I was in your pocket. Thank you very, very much for the gifts. The gifts always help. I don't get paid for these lives. I'm just here to share knowledge. I always say this, but I've suffered so delusionally much in my life. I didn't know emotions existed at all, let alone in the body, for most of my life. I had all the eating disorders. I was throwing up several times a day and going back to the store to get food to throw up more. This was my life, and I was a shell of a person. I had no sparkle in my eyes. Completely disassociated from my body. And then I messed up trying to heal that so many times using all the wrong tools like willpower and positive self-talk and all of the shit. Not shit. I try not to do any evil speech, but like all the things that don't help, even though they're supposed to help. And then you wonder like, oh shit, what's wrong with me? It's not helping. That was me forever. I was like, what's wrong with me? Oh yeah, someone watched my trauma. Yeah, if you want to watch the trauma release video, you can go to either the link in my bio and click on Rewild Your Release. It'll take you to a page about that course, but there's a video on that page that shows the shaking and it talks more about it. Or you can type in on YouTube, Kate Colley trauma release, and it should be the first video that comes up, besides a sponsored video, because I don't pay to have any ads. You can watch me basically shake for, I don't know how long the video is, like 30 minutes. In real time, that was for 2 hours. And it was at a seminar where I was learning body language from the top military professional of interrogation, because body language, like I said, is the fastest way to see a shift in the nervous system in real time, whereas face reading, which is kind of what we're talking about today, face reading is a way to see long-standing emotional information that has indented the face and has caused the face shape to actually change in different ways, so that you can really see into what's been going on for a long time. You use the two skills together and it becomes very difficult to date. And I'll just leave it at that. You can let your imagination go fucking wild with that concept. But I was at the body language seminar and someone was asking, I'm really underconfident. What's the best way to increase my confidence? And my teacher, Chase Hughes, said the best way to increase your confidence is not through willpower. It's not through cortical control, meaning human part of our brain, top-down processing. Because we don't have enough human willpower and control to control minutely every body language movement we do all the time. It's a subconscious process. It exists below our conscious awareness. So he's like, the best way to hack all this is you just go straight to the subconscious and you release the tension that's there. The fucked up shit that's been there for generations since childhood, the stuff we hold on to that we don't even know we're holding on to, the stuff we're trying to run from. Release that from the mammal body, not talk about it in therapy, because that usually perpetuates it. And if therapy is working for you for your trauma, please keep doing it. I'm not like doubting therapy at all. I fucking love talking about my problems, trust me. But the real way to do it is you have to release it from the body, and it's not a logical process. So tangent to say, you can go to my YouTube channel, type in Kate Colley trauma release. All right, face reading. Oh my gosh, I always talk for so long because I love sharing this information with you guys. So Chinese face reading. We're gonna go through the emotional lock of the face for reals, and I will probably tangent in like another 5 minutes. This area, minor liver area. Liver is correlated to anger. Anger is not a bad emotion. We can see on the chart. When we dig into the undercurrents of anger, we don't react to the anger. We're not punching walls. We're not punching people. We're not yelling at people. But we're also not being like, oh shit, something's wrong. I should breathe through this. I can't feel my anger. When we allow the anger to alchemize us, alchemize our personality in the way that it is meant to, we realize, holy shit, I have a boundary. Wow. And a boundary is not what you say no to. Okay. A boundary is what defines me from you. There is no need whatsoever to ever interject anger into any of your boundaries. Oftentimes people have repressed their boundaries so much that it requires an intense amount of anger in order for them to even look at it. And then when there's a high amount of shame relative to somebody's self-worth, it can be difficult to speak that boundary without anger, because anger is an emotion that pushes away a threat. It's an outward movement. It gives you strength to assert yourself and your love of life, your love of yourself. But again, I'll say that one more time. When there's a high amount of shame held in the body, if the shame is here, you could be feeling this amount of anger relative to this authentic boundary. You're not going to speak anything. Still not going to speak anything. Still not going to speak anything. Whoop! When the anger gets here, you explode. Why? Because you've crossed the shame threshold. This is higher than the shame, and that momentum causes you to set that boundary. But in a healthy way, okay, there's never a need for that to happen, because if you have, through the shaking process that I teach and this alchemy process, if you've released the shame, then your anger spikes here and you go, oh, hey, I have a boundary. Let me hold that anger, work with it, and express my boundary, and it ends up being quite neutral. All right, so lines on the face. This is how you can see what your anger is like, or somebody else's anger. There's a couple different lines you're going to see in this area. You're going to see one short line. I don't know why I make noises. You're going to see one long line. And you're going to see, or you're going to see two lines. Look, it's like marking my face as I'm doing it. Or you're going to see two lines like this. Sometimes one line is longer when there's two lines, or this side. Everything in Chinese face reading has a meaning. So the side of the face that you see it on is very relevant. The other thing you're going to see in this area is like kind of like what I have. It's like little crisscrossy lines when I wrinkle my face. Those crisscrossy lines, see how they come? It's like I really have to express it to do it. They come kind of down this way. That's worry. That's repressed worry. I get a little worried sometimes about shit. The worry is when it crosses down here into the gallbladder channel, but anger lines you're going to see from about here and above. It's not going to cross that. So we'll start with one line. One little line is a intense but very pointed amount of repressed rage. One very large line is an intense and a lot amount of repressed rage, to the point, because it's a cut, that person has cut off a very large part of their awareness to their masculinity. Okay, this is not a boy-girl thing. Every single human has both. We all have masculine qualities. We all have feminine qualities. Generally speaking, a biologically born woman will feel best when she's leading with her feminine energy. Feminine energy is soft. It's intuitive. It's connected to something greater. It is receiving. It's present. It's in the moment, and it's receptive. Okay, think of vaginas. Okay, vaginas, what do to create new life? They receive information. They chill and they receive information, and then they create new life out of nothingness, connection to God. Okay, penises. Sorry, I'm getting explicit. I hope you don't have children around. Penises, what do to create new life? They get erect out in the world. They get very large and strong, and then they give information in a pointed direction. That's the masculine. Biologically born men generally, but usually more often than not, will feel best when they're leading with their masculine energy. So that is what masculine energy is. Masculine energy is outward movement. It's a giving presence. It's strong. It's steadfast. It knows how to make decisions. And generally, we people learn our masculine energy from our fathers, or father figures, or absent father figures. The father figure that was never there. That's a learned masculinity. So people that have one giant line have been pretty cut from their masculine energy due to a very difficult relationship with the primary masculine figure in their life. And because of that, there's no blame here. I'm not blaming your dad for anything. But what I am saying is he imprinted your nervous system, like a little computer. It was like you were like watching as a child from 0 to 7 being like, this is how masculinity is. Okay, right? You're not 7-year-old being like, I'm going to take this, but I'm going to leave that. This isn't about me. No, everything's about you when you're 0 to 7. Everything is about you. You're a little narcissist when you're 7, between 0 and 7, and then you slowly transition out of narcissism. One line here, repressed anger relative to the masculine. Anger is not bad. They call it in Chinese face reading when there's one marking here that it's like a frozen lake, which I love. Because if you imagine a frozen lake, there's a whole lot happening below the lake, but the top is frozen. It's stoic. It's untouched. It's cut. You cannot penetrate the lake. So in order to penetrate the lake, to get to the water, to get to the flow, to get to where the life is, to experience more life and more color and more joy, you have to learn how to process your anger in a healthy way. This is not talking about your anger. This is not repressing your anger. This is not anger management, okay? Anger management has a point, right? There's a purpose to it. The purpose of anger management is for you if you severely lack impulse control. Yeah, okay, cool. Impulse control. But if you are only learning impulse control without learning the quiet, intuitive voice of your anger, which is screaming your self-worth and your boundaries for you, something that you want, empowerment relative in your life so fucking badly, if you're not listening to that voice and taking consistent, empowered action from a high place of integrity, because anger will tell you to hurt other people or yourself, to destroy things. That's not a high place of integrity. Integrity, the golden rule of integrity is it is self-loving for me and everybody else involved. That's high-level masculine integrity. That's what we need to learn when we have this line. Two lines right here. That's frustration, annoyance, impatience. There's never enough time. I'm always in a hurry. It's almost like, it's like bouts of anger, but it's not rage, right? Like the one line is like rage, but rage is not bad. Rage is power waiting to be discovered in a healthy way by your awareness. The two lines are just impatience. It's like there's never enough time. It's like I need to slow down. I need to be more present. I need to just this type of energy, like we got to chill out on it. Now, you also kind of want to look at these lines in the liver area relative to somebody's eyebrows, which is why whenever I'm doing a professional reading, I always ask, do you plop your eyebrows? And do you get Botox? And how old are you? And all kinds of personal questions. Yeah, anyways, but the eyebrows will also show you a bit more about the liver, because the eyebrows, if they're very, very bushy and thick, like long eyebrows, and they come all the way to here, that those people do have a lot of liver energy. And so they have a capacity, right? Their container, their natural container that they have developed over their lifetime can hold a high amount of anger without exploding. Physically, they can hold a high amount of alcohol and still be pretty coherent. They can tolerate toxins quite well, okay? People with very sparse eyebrows, like barely any eyebrows, light eyebrows, very thin eyebrows that look like they've been penciled in because there's just not a lot there. Their container for anger is like meek and small. Not good or bad. Then none of this is good or bad. We're just talking about different traits. They do not have a tolerance for processing toxins, alcohol. It's gonna be really difficult for them to like physically process. Emotions even are going to be very difficult for them to feel. They could get overwhelmed easy. And so if you, for example, if you notice that someone has very, very bushy eyebrows, and maybe like, I was trying to think, I was just talking to someone, one of my clients today has very, very bushy eyebrows, a lot of water traits on his face, like really deeply intuitive and feminine almost, but then like an insane amount of drive. And he had frustration lines. He had two lines, but it was more so, I'm trying to remember, one of the lines was longer. Essentially, here's what I've noticed. I didn't learn this part that I'm about to teach you from anyone. Unibrow, we actually are going to get to. Love unibrows. A good unibrows. Great. No one taught me this, so this is my speculation. Generally, I keep it in alignment with what I learned from the Lillian Bridges lineage of Chinese face reading, so I will tell you if I ever step out of that. I'm about to step out of that right now. The right side of the face, I have noticed, is more where people hold masculine stuff. So if you have two lines, but the true right, so like this is my true right. I always have to like double check that in my mind. I'm like, this is my right. We're good. Okay. When the right side line is longer, it means that they hold more anger relative to the masculine. When the left side is longer, if there's two lines, they generally hold more anger relative to the feminine. Now, in a therapy setting, we can make a lot of inferences from that because generally, because patterns repeat at all levels all the time, and we're experiencing nothing new, generally that means if left side is longer, let's focus on mother stuff. Right side's longer, let's focus on father stuff and how that imprinted that person's neurology. Oh, but I was telling you about a client this morning. Quite bushy eyebrows. So he actually can hold a lot, but he struggles with, he calls it emotional outbursts. And anyways, he doesn't struggle with it as much as I think he thinks he struggles with it because he didn't have one big line. He had these two lines. And so his issue is that the amount of time he's allowing himself to hold that anger, to receive the blessing of it, to receive the information, to receive his higher wisdom of alignment and self-worth, that's where we need to practice. He just needs the skill set to be able to hold it. But he's right there. It's not like he has like repressed rage, because I think he thought he had repressed rage. So you gotta check these lines, the anger lines relative to the eyebrows. And there are a lot more with the eyebrows, but I've already 43 minutes in and we haven't gotten to the overline, so I'm going to keep going. I think that's probably enough around here. Again, the gallbladder, if you like right here and down, lines that come more kind of crisscrossy, that's worry. That's too much mental activity and you need to be more present in real time. You cannot be future tripping. Okay, that's like what I have. Okay, so the next line we're going to look at is a horizontal line right here. We've just been looking at vertical lines. Now we're looking at a horizontal line on the top of the bridge of the nose right here. Okay. This horizontal line has a couple meanings. It's going to have a physical meaning and then it also has an emotional, spiritual meaning. Physically, that line is called a jing blocker. There's a couple jing blockers that you see on the face. It's horizontal lines in those areas. This one's very common though, because we all eat like shit. Eat is what I said. So I said that really fast. We all eat like shit. Most of us have a very shitty diet. I personally don't, but I've had a ton of eating disorders. So my relationship with food has evolved and changed and alchemized into something that I absolutely love now. But my goodness, it took me a long time to get there. So this line physically means that there's irregularity in blood sugar levels. Generally, it means that you're eating too many carbs. As a general rule of thumb, I know I'm talking in generalities just because I don't want to talk in absolutes with this kind of stuff. I want you to use discernment and check this on your own base, on your own life, and in whoever's in your life. But generally speaking, if you are blood O type, generally I meet O and A. I rarely meet an AB or what's the other one, like a B. If you are blood O type, you have to be eating high quality meat. What I mean by high quality meat is like grass-fed, organic, as high quality as you could possibly get it. Lower the amount of toxins in your meat, but meat, low starchy vegetables, low carb fruits, like not bananas, more like berries, sweet potatoes, no grains. I know that's a difficult one within reason. I'm not, no one expects perfection. But this line, because there's an invariable blood sugar problem, it is actually affecting your health at that time or at that moment or in your life. I don't know what I'm trying to say. In Chinese face reading, they do say that this is like a pre-diabetic line. Doesn't mean that you're going to get diabetes fucking tomorrow. Okay. But like, just, be aware of it. Be like, hey, my health is being impacted. Lower the amount of sugars and carbs you're eating. If you're blood A type, you do not have to eat as much meat and fat, right? Fat meaning like high quality butters, ghee, avocados, avocado oil, coconut oil. That's really good for blood O type. For blood A type, you still want to incorporate that, like those high quality meats, but more like chicken, fish, eggs, not too much fat, not as much meat. You can eat grains, rice and beans could be really good for you, that kind of thing. But the general rule of thumb is to eat things that don't spike your blood sugar as much. Now, blood sugar can also be spiked from stress, so that could be it as well. which is the segue into the emotional spiritual representation of this line, which is around consumption. Because oftentimes we think of health as what we're consuming with food, but we consume energy and information all the time. When you're on TikTok, when you're on social media, when you're on YouTube, when you're watching TV, that is consumption, simply because it is information coming through your five senses that your body must process. When you're in relationships, when you're around friends, is there, and really want you to answer this, is there a circuitry in that relationship? What do I mean by circuitry? Are you giving and receiving in a format that feels flowing, that feels life-giving, that feels expansive? Because when people come together, because I am a creator and you are a creator, we are different than animals in the wild. Animals in the wild aren't coming together to create new ideas of thought. Animals in the wild come together to create new life via sex and babies. That's cool. That's like real basic foundation of the purpose of life, is to procreate. We have that in us because we are mammals, but we are also humans. So when humans come together, we can co-create with our minds. We can birth ideas out of nothingness. We can come together and create art from the co-creation between your idea and my idea, my sense of self and your sense of self. Better boundaries we have, the better this process is going to work. Because if I know where I end and you begin, then our co-creation can be wild and magical. Where am I going with this? This line. Circuitry. Are the relationships in your life feeding you, and are you feeding others? If not, take a look at it, right? We're not going to have a... Sorry, I keep shaking this table, my legs up. I'm going to take it off. And my phone's on a thing. It's a whole thing. That should be a little bit more stable and less jolty for you. Fair viewing pleasure. Are the relationships serving you, and are you of service to the relationships? If not, that's the spiritual emotional of this line. So we're looking at anything you're consuming. We could call it air quality you're consuming. We talked about food, relationships, news, right? There's good forms of information that serve us in our highest well-being and capacity, and then there's not so good ones. And I'm not saying don't be informed about what's going on in the world, because that's not useful either, right? But like, how much time and how much energy are you giving your consciousness, your presence, your awareness? Because that's currency. It's the highest currency is your presence. Whatever you are giving your presence to, you are allowing it to feed you and to change how you are wired. We are creatures of neuroplasticity. When you watch the news and you're watching it a lot, you're watching it every morning and you're really obsessed with it and you're really focusing on it and you're giving your energy in that direction, the circuitry is not feeding anything that will create the highest form of art that you came here to create. And I don't mean art like a painting. I mean art like you are a creator. What are you creating with the capacity of art that you have within your body? When you feed the body not useful information, not useful foods, not useful friendships, toxic, abusive relationships because you fear being alone, blah, 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 blah. And I get it, because I've been there, right? We know I've suffered fucking a lot. I've been through the things, okay? This is why I'm here teaching it to you. But when we involve ourselves in those, our subconscious is listening and it's patterning in different programs. And then the subconscious is what is creating our reality. We're not creating our reality because we wrote down on our vision board that we want to manifest abundance 555 times. And for those of you that have done that and it didn't work, this is why, because we're manifesting from our subconscious mostly. Conscious has to be involved as well. All right, we're going to go on more Chinese face reading stuff. Otherwise, I will keep tangenting. All right, so we got this line, we got these lines. All right, we have these lines, crow's feet. These ones are pretty simple. This is like, when it comes up, that's like happiness, and that has imprinted the face. When it comes down, about right here, that's sadness. That has imprinted the face. See, I got some. Those are good, right? Somebody that's like 30-ish and above, you're going to want to see some crow's feet on their face. Especially if they're making an emotional expression. If they're not making an emotional expression, you usually don't see those lines until later, 40, 50 and above, and that's okay. If you ever meet, though, somebody who's 40 and above, and they have no crow's feet, and they have, even when they make an emotional expression, like you're talking and you're in a conversation with them and you're laughing and you're sharing stories and you're talking about your past and whatever people talk about, and you don't notice any crow's feet and you know with certainty that they don't have Botox, pause. That's a little red flaggy. It's a little bit red flaggy because the eyes in Chinese face reading is connected to the heart. And then the structures around the eyes, like this general region, is connected to how somebody expresses their heart. And so if somebody doesn't have any happiness and sadness lines, which are just emotions of the heart, and those are very common emotions of the heart, but they don't have, sorry, there's a fly. If they don't have these lines on their face, it is somewhat safe to assume that there's been a real disconnect from their heart. Now, this can be, please don't walk around calling people narcissists, but this can be a sign of narcissism. People that have narcissism, the root cause of narcissism is that there was so much shame. Shame is very uncomfortable, especially for sensitive children. If there is so much shame early in childhood, that child at some point had a full cut from its awareness to its heart. That is why narcissists lack empathy. It's actually, I'm not saying go be with a narcissist, but it is not that narcissists are bad people. It is not that narcissists are evil. It is not that they are trying to hurt you. It's a complete cut. Most of the time, when we cut off from ourselves in childhood, we make a split. It's almost like you imagine this one line coming down and then a split, like a split end on a hair follicle, right? There's a split. Most of the time there's a split, meaning we still have some connection to this vulnerable repressed part, but we get very triggered when this vulnerable repressed part is activated and we act from our mask, but we kind of oscillate between these two parts of ourselves. Narcissists, that's not a split end. That's the whole hair got split into two pieces of hair. This piece of hair is in the back end of their nervous system. They don't even know it's there. And this piece of hair is the front end, and that is the mask. And so the reason that narcissists feed off of other people is because this mask that they wear is so disconnected from their heart and from their authentic self that they can't feed it from themselves to this mask. They require other people to constantly feed the mask to sustain their life force energy, which I know sounds evil. And I'm not saying don't hang out with narcissists, steer clear at all costs, right? But we can also look at the root cause with such a severe amount of shame. That shame is the dagger that cut their personality into two, and that is why narcissists cannot self-reflect. Okay. Didn't know we were going to do a narcissist talk today, but there it is. What were we talking about? Happiness, sadness lines. Okay. Crow's feet. So these are generally healthy. Now, like I said, a narcissist will not have these lines. There's different forms of narcissism. That would be like a very grandiose narcissist. Sometimes narcissists have deep grief lines, and that's more of a covert narcissist. So different forms, different ways. Can they heal and connect back to their split part? As far as I know, no, but sure, anything's possible, right? I certainly wouldn't wait on it. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, okay, just looking at questions. If you have a particular question that you really, really, really want answered, join my subscription, my VIP, and I will pause up everything that I'm doing to answer all of your questions. It's just that my attention gets way too scatterbrained because I love all of you and I want to answer your questions. I don't get paid for these. I literally just come here to serve you. With the subscription, you also get a discount on all my courses. You get a discount on all my one-on-one work, and you get the full entire replays to every single live I've ever done in a folder for you. So you could binge watch my shit forever. It's a lot of cake golly, but there it is if you want it. And it's all good. It's sometimes we talk about shadow work, emotional alchemy, body language, dating, sex, face reading, relationships. So we definitely get into a lot of emotional stuff. All right. Now these lines, there's some caveats to them, as there are with all Chinese face reading things. When this line goes up really, really high, I don't know, I've never seen one go this high, but if the happiness line comes up to about right here, it comes past the eyebrow, that's called pathological joy. And I laugh because my very, very best friend has these lines. Hers are not super, super high, but she definitely has pathological joy. So pathological joy is almost like pathological optimism. And it's not pathological, but it can be if it goes up really, really high. It's pathological in a sense that they're so committed to seeing kind of like the bright side of things that they almost exist in a delusional reality. They can look past triggers. They can look past obvious, potentially toxic, harmful situations, so much so, and then they just live into this positive, happy, delusional reality. So my best friend has this line. We were actually just talking about it the other day. And it's because when she was a very young teenager, her mother died suddenly. And she had a stepfather at the time. She wasn't close to her father. So she didn't really have a family after that. And it was so, I mean, obviously anything like that is so painful. But she was in such deep depression and she was like a cheerleader. And so it kind of formed this split in her where she was horribly depressed and in pain, had zero people to talk about it. And she'd go to school and she was really popular and she was a cheerleader. And so her coping mechanism that she developed during that time in her life that has stuck with her for her entire life is that she will just make good of anything, and it's a really positive trait. It's why, it's not why she's my best friend. She's my best friend for 1,000 different reasons, but like, she's really good at that. And that has served her and it continues to serve her. However, then she married someone who ended up with a drug addiction. And for about 1.5 years, he was really blatantly, obviously in that drug addiction. And she did not recognize it, even though she did. Like she did, but she would look at it because she was like, it's fine. It's fine. I'm going to buy more clothes to make myself look like everything's fine kind of thing. So that's pathological joy. Now, sometimes if it does go up really, really high, that can be actual pathology such as schizophrenia, bipolar, things like that. You'll see that commonly, especially if they're in an active, bipolar state. If they're in an active schizophrenic state, you'll also see the whites under their eyes showing a little bit. It's almost like I can't do it, and I don't ever really have a good picture of it to show you, but sometimes you see this in conversation too when you're talking to people. It's when they disassociate and literally the whites under their eyes start to show, or like more of the whites under their eyes show. It's a weird look. I can't do it. I always try. I never can get there. So that's something to look out for. All right. So sadness lines. Ooh. I'm making so many noises today. When they come down like this, that's good. Everybody should experience sadness because it's like, it's part of life. However, when the sadness comes across the cheekbone, right? Here's the cheekbone. And it starts, see, like mine's starting to come onto the cheekbone, these little lines right here. When it comes onto the cheekbone, okay, right here, then that sadness is called, like I call it, level 2 sadness, which is sorrow. Sorrow is just a deeper form of sadness. Beverage break, hang on. When it comes here onto the cheekbone is sorrow. Sorrow is a deeper held sense of sadness where sadness gets trapped in the body. Okay. Anytime we experience sadness, sorrow, grief, these are heart emotions. Treat them like medicine. Why? Because growing up, there were many, many things that happened to you and to everybody that disconnected us from our heart. AKA, in order to remain in the truth of our heart and remain connected to parents, caregivers, and society at the same time was too painful for your child nervous system. So what did you do? The child goes, can't get rid of my parents, can't get rid of my caregivers. But I can disconnect from my own pain. I can disconnect from my own self. So we do that. We cut little parts of our awareness off from our heart. Boop, 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 boop. And then we live in our head. We use our heart, but our heart's like dark. It's almost like we turned off the lights and we were like, bye heart. I'm gonna go up here into my head because it's safer. And then this part of your heart that's all dark and has the lights off starts to get cobwebby. And then it starts to get like spiders and little rats and ghosts come into your heart. Okay, I'm totally making a metaphor right now. And TikTok's going to make me do this little puzzle piece so I can stay on. It wants to make sure I'm like not a robot or something. I'm not a robot, I promise. So the heart gets all dark. But we get so accustomed to living in the head where we try to control everything around us because being in our heart was deemed not safe when we were 5 years old, and then 2 years old, and 7 years old, and all the ages. Then what happens? Okay, we're with this metaphor. We have this mask persona. I'm independent. I'm this. I am that. And I don't need other people, or whatever it is that your mask persona is. We all have one. And then we find partners, avoidant relationships, toxic relationships, relationships that feel so delusionally good, like the best drug you've ever had, and you want to swim in it and eat it up forever for like 3 months until shit hits the fan, and then it's like a long road of hell after that. Those relationships. Okay, what do those relationships do? Well, like I said before, we're always manifesting from 2 different parts. We're manifesting from our conscious mind, 5% of us, and our subconscious mind, the rest of us. The little part of your heart that's all dark and cobwebby, 95% of you is still manifesting. And so it's like seeking out, I would like to have the lights on. Where could I find that? And it sends this little message up to your reticular activating system, and your reticular activating system, unconsciously, you're not aware of this, sorts for the person, the exact right, beautiful, angelic, toxic person that can wake up this part of your heart. And when they do, in the first 3 months of that relationship, it's like they cord themselves and their face and their body and their tits and their ass and their beautiful, lovely man face, or, whatever preference you have sexually, whatever thing you're into, they literally cord themselves into this part of your heart. And the light gets turned on, and it feels like an orgasm, like a non-sexual, like awakening orgasm. Presence comes back into your eyes. Lights are turned on. Color all of a sudden appears. You meet this part of yourself that you've never met before, and it's like fucking great. But you think it's that person. It's not. It's spoiler alert. It's not. Never is. It's always been you. So it gets turned on, right? But your body and something larger than your body, creator, whatever you want to call it, higher self, your higher neurology, I don't care, loves you so much, it wants you to remember your wholeness. It wants you to inhabit with your free will the totality of your heart that you have cut off to. So what does it do? This person becomes toxic, they leave your life. That's the short story. You can fill in the details of your personal story, which I'm sure is very juicy, and I wish I had all the time in the world to hear all about it. They leave. Now, what happens? All of a sudden, you're with this part of your heart, but it had only been activated when it was corded to this person. Now this person is gone. So now you're in new reality. You're aware that this part of your heart exists, but oh shit, now you're aware that there's cobwebs and that the light switch isn't working and there's been rats pooping in there for 1,000 million years and you don't know what to do with it, and there's so much pain. We call this pain sorrow. We call this pain mourning. We call mourning as in mourning, like you're mourning something dying. We call this pain grief. It is so delusionally intense that our animal biology tries to run from it, and we try to go back to that person. And when you go back to that person, if you do that, not everyone does, but if you do that, then that intermittent attention of being with this part of your heart creates an addiction to their tits or their face. Sorry, I'm explicit with my language sometimes. Okay, but do you get the idea? They are your greatest blessing. I have actually posted a ton about this on my Instagram channel and a ton about this on my YouTube about getting over an avoidant person, because I used to be very avoidant. And then I healed, and it was the worst. It was like I died 10,000 times. Okay, it died 10,000 times. And then I was reborn. It was great. Okay, so back to the grief and the sorrow. They detach their awareness. Okay, they detach their body. Now you're aware of this. The grief serves as a function for you to remember that this is your heart, but the cost to get into actually existing in the totality of your heart is grief. That's the cost. It is the cost of saying, hey, I'm a human. I can turn towards my pain. I don't have to run from it. I can turn towards my pain. I can look at it, and I can use that information of grief to expand my capacity to hold, give, and receive love. So yes, I've heard that before, that it should be learned in schools. I've actually had people tell me you should teach this in schools. I'm like, I don't know. It's been said to me enough times now where I'm like, maybe. I mean, it's not something that I naturally am like, oh yeah, I'll do that. But that'd be super cool. Okay, so in Chinese face reading, we have sadness, sorrow, grief. When the line comes down into this area, here's my cheekbone. When the line comes down below the cheekbone, that is when it is grief. And grief you really want to look at, because for health reasons, this is the lung channel. I mean, all of our organs are vital organs, essentially. Well, I guess not all of them, but the lungs are pretty important, you know? Breath, it's like kind of one of those things you got to be doing. So when the line comes down here, that's the lung channel. Remember, this is liver, this is gallbladder, this is lungs. When you have markings, lines, hollowness here, please, please, please look at your grief. Grief is not just when somebody dies. It can be, of course, but grief can also be the loss of the childhood that you never had, the loss of innocence that happened way too early, the things you needed from your parents that you never really got. I was just posting about this on Instagram, when your mother was in the kitchen and every single time she was cooking dinner, all you wanted was for her to look at you and give you warmth from her heart and from her eyes, and you never got it once. That's grief. Grief is the version of you so long ago that didn't take action when you wanted to take action, and it put a wrench in your plans. That's grief. You have to grieve. Grief is essentially the vehicle, it's a biochemical vehicle that allows for your awareness to be present to the fact that there is something that you can't change, and no matter what you do, you cannot change it. When somebody passes, there is nothing you can do to bring that person back. That's a really hard pill to swallow for those of you that have lost anyone, which most of us have. That's a really, really tough pill to swallow. Grief helps us with that. It's a watery emotion. It's a vehicle. It's like you get onto the vehicle of grief and it takes you, and it usually takes longer than you want it to take, and it hurts. But then you end up being connected, hopefully, to your heart. You have love, and you can give that love in different areas, but you can't give it to love to that exact person that passed. You can give love to all the different parts of you, but you have acceptance that there's nothing you can do to change the thing that happened when you were 5, because there is nothing you can do to change the thing that happened when you were 5. There's nothing you can do. The only thing you can do is find acceptance relative to it, and acceptance is not a logical thing like most people have told you. Neither is forgiveness. It's maybe a different talk. Acceptance and forgiveness are not things you decide to do. Those are spontaneous, radical, miraculous processes of the body when true acceptance has been found, not logical acceptance. I do not recommend you sit here and try to accept or forgive anything or anyone. You meet your body where it's at, and you use the emotional alchemy process, because that will lead you to divine acceptance, to divine forgiveness, where there's not a shadow of a doubt or a question in your mind that you have forgiven. It's almost like it's not just forgiveness, it's not just acceptance. You have tears of gratitude that that thing happened, even if it was bad. That's possible, but that takes work. And that's what I have in my 4-step process. I also have on my YouTube channel, which if you subscribe, zero cost way to support me. If you don't want to subscribe here and get your questions answered on TikTok. I've posted some videos lately. I've posted some things about getting over avoidant people. And I have posted some things. I have actually posted a couple of my TikTok lives to YouTube. And if you see one that has this chart, I do get into the emotional alchemy a little bit more. But let's keep going for Chinese face reading, because I got to jump off soon. How does that sound? And another sip of coffee. So what else do we got? Grief, sorrow, sadness, happiness. This one, oh, I know one we could talk about. It's a line right here on the tip of someone's nose. And this part of the nose is the pericardium channel. Pericardium is what surrounds the heart. It's the protector of the heart. So if there's a line right there, it's like, oh, there's a crack in the protector of the heart. And usually what it means, if there's a crack in the protector of the heart, there's too much blood loss, not physical blood loss, okay? Blood loss meaning blood is life force energy. So it's a bleeding heart line. Okay, bleeding heart line can signal codependency. I have another TikTok video where I talk, gosh, I don't remember what it's called. Face reading possible signs of codependency. Maybe it's not called that, but I think it's something like that, or relationship styles. It's maybe like from a couple months ago, but you can go watch it. It's really good if you want to. But what this line is like, giving too much. It is giving too much to other people at the expense of yourself. Now this is also pericardium right here. If there's a horizontal line right here, that's a heartbreak line. And a heartbreak line is more so like that person experienced heartbreak so severely at some point in the past that it's actually difficult for them to open their heart now. So both on pericardium channel, both have different meanings. This one, bleeding heart, which this one I've also heard called a fallen angel line, because those people can be angelic in some ways. Like they're so giving. They're so giving. They're actually, according to more spiritual Chinese medicine or Chinese face reading purposes, their purpose here is to give, is to actually be of service. It's very fulfilling to them. But if they have that line, they usually need to learn the boundaries of their giving, so that there is that circuitry, so that as they give, they are receiving so that they can give more. Because giving endlessly from an empty cup, then you can't give. Then you're done. Then you're depleted and you can't share your gifts with the world. Whereas this marking, horizontal, is a heartbreak line, and that's more of a broken heart line. This line right here, little chin dimple, horizontal. No, sorry, vertical. I know I said that wrong. A vertical line right here. This is people pleasing. These people with the little chin dimple, they like to be in the center of attention, and oftentimes it's like actors, actresses. They are very overly concerned, not overly, but just they're concerned about what other people think of them, how other people view them, and they're very willing to sidestep their own truth to receive external validation. So it can show up as people pleasing. Let's do one more. There's so many more I want to share, but I do have to go. So I'll share one more, and then maybe if you guys want to talk about this next week, we can too. I'm moving my hair out of my face so I can show you. So people that have lines right here, so these are vertical lines. I have like a tiny bit, but not a lot. It's these lines right here. See how this looks a little bit wrinkly right there? It's vertical lines right next to your ear. These are called auditory intuition lines. So people with these lines, the light side of this, like the bright side, is that they have a impeccable amount of, well, auditory intuition. What does that mean? It means that they can sense tonality shifts extremely articulately. Like if you're talking to someone, you're having a regular conversation and that person enters a little bit of annoyance and their tonality shifts just a little bit, and you have these lines, you're going to be able to notice it. And you're going to feel it. You're going to be like, wait, the vibe just shifted. What just happened? It's usually these people that have these lines are like, you can walk into a room, you instantly know the vibe. You know what everybody is feeling before anybody opens their mouth. You just know. And you know how to walk on eggshells not to upset everyone. It's like you're a magician, that you have this skill. It's a really cool skill to have, but the development of this skill was from a basically trauma response in childhood. Usually it's more complex trauma. Okay, so there's a difference between shock trauma and complex trauma. Shock trauma is a physical threat to the physical self. Usually it's a one-time thing. Usually it's something you can point to, like you remember it. I mean, sometimes we don't remember these things, and that's a little bit of a different topic, but like you can remember it. Like, oh, that happened to me when I was 5, that one thing, and it affected me, right? So that's shock trauma. Now, complex trauma is more complex. Who would have thunk it? But it's more complex because it's an emotional threat to your sense of self. So over time, when there's hits of complex trauma, it distorts and changes your personality in hypervigilant and usually non-useful ways, where you're fragmenting and hiding the vulnerable, truthful, authentic parts of yourself. So if somebody is, for example, with these lines, a very common story, it might not be you, is like one of their parents is alcoholic and the other one is severely codependent, because that's usually what happens. Someone has an addiction, and then the codependent revolves around that addiction, and then gets the children to revolve around the person with the addiction. The only way to exit that is to literally jump off that spiral, because it's a nasty one. But you might have these lines if there's someone with a parent who's an alcoholic or has an addiction, or is bipolar or is erratic with their emotions, for the survival, for the emotional sense of safety for that child, because this is complex trauma, in order to not trigger the person with the addiction, they must learn quickly, and accurately how to read the room, how to read that person, how to take one brief look at that person's face and know exactly what to say and exactly what not to say. So that would be these signs. This is auditory intuition. All right, guys. That was a mouthful, but it was very, very fun. I hope that was useful. You can send me a message. Let me know if you want to talk about face reading again next week, or if you want to go back to, we can talk about emotional alchemy. Relationship stuff is always fun. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the fan club. Thank you for sharing this live. Thank you for being here. Thank you for putting in the work. Thank you for following me. If you're a man and you want more men's emotional health and relational dating health specifically, you can follow me on Instagram. You'll get lost for hours in the best kind of way with all of that kind of information. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I love creating content for you. And if you have any particular questions that you think would be good answered in, or usefully answered in a YouTube video, send me a message, because I love hearing from you about what you actually want to learn about, so I can actually create content that's beneficial. All right. Love you guys. Thanks for coming. Have a beautiful day.